Every miniature has a name.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and I wanted to share a Kickstarter with you today that is happening very soon that gives you the ability to kind of create your own narrative for your miniatures. It's called Wargname, and what it is, it's basically just those cool name templates, nameplates that you can put on the front of pretty much any miniature with a base and customize exactly what you want it to say, from the text to also the icons and the symbols, perhaps on the side, depending on maybe what game you're trying to represent and stuff like that. But I do need to disclose one little thing, though. I traded this video and this whole promotions kind of gig for a commercial license to sell these things, because I think they are that cool that I want to be able to provide these to everybody in our wonderful Void resin, which is some of the best, strongest resin on the market today. But that isn't what this video is about. I want to show you something cool for your miniatures. So here's a look at the Kickstarter page. Of course, this is a preview. Everything's kind of subject to change at any point before the project goes live, of course. This is going to be the third Kickstarter they've actually launched and, fulfilled successfully and everything. And there's a bunch of these templates. They have a free one that you can click here and download once this is live and kind of play around with it. Now, there is software you have to use. It's called Blender. I'm going to show you real quick just how easy it is. And there's all sorts of documentation they're going to provide. It took like 5 minutes to learn how to do this. It was really quick. I had more problems. I overcomplicated it myself than actually how simple it was. And there's a ton of sizes in here, but I think the demo ones are going to be a 40 millimeter, just so everybody can kind of get used to them. But I had plenty of figures in 40 millimeter. As I'm about to show you, I've already printed one of these up. I've already plated it. I've already painted it. These things are dope, and they're so easy to do. Whether you're going to pledge this Kickstarter to get these yourself and customize them, or if you want to do like a resale license, kind of like what I'm doing, or maybe you just have a game club that you're like, yo, I can print these out and sell them to all my mates, whatever. That's dope too. But this is just a really cool thing that puts the super customizability and also the narrative of miniatures like in a lot more people's hands, I feel like, because there really wasn't anything out there that's just like, okay, look, this is how to do it, because it's so customizable. I've been looking for something like this for a long time, and when Alex approached me, I was like, yes, I've been waiting for this. Thank you. So let's take a closer look at some of the styles that they're gonna have. This is basically how everything is gonna look when it comes out of the printer. You're gonna have to support it, whatever slicer you use normally, but there's also instructions in here on how to do all that. Here's all the bases that they currently offer. This may change. I personally suggested doing Marvel Crisis Protocol and also having a 170 millimeter oval base, which I think will be pretty beneficial to a lot of people. Here's a summary of all the pledges, and then it kind of gets into some more nitty gritty stretch goal stuff, but you can kind of see all the different formats that they have as far as like the little templates on the front, which I think are pretty cool. And then let's see, scroll down a little bit more. There we go. So then there's the stuff on the side, like all the little studs and things like that you can get, spiked balls. I think there was a radiation symbol, which would be pretty neat. Yeah, there it is. And yin yangs, controllers, all sorts of different stuff. But you don't really have to use any of this if you don't want to. It just all looks really good. And here's some painted examples here of some different games that you're probably a little bit familiar with. So now let's take a look at it in the actual program to customize these things. It's called Blender. You probably heard of it if you're already familiar with 3D printing and 3D slicing, but let me show you exactly how easy it is if you've never done any of this before. So here's the program. It's called Blender. It's super easy to use if you haven't used it before. Very easy to scroll around. You just push down on the scroll wheel. You can kind of look at things. You can select things. If you become fluent with this program and then you forget how to use it, they have a little cheat sheet where you can turn on exactly what you need to do. But you should read the guide first and not that. Pro tip. It takes about 5 minutes to figure out this out. It's super easy. If you ever used Photoshop before, it's very similar to that. So what you're going to want to do is just basically select the text that you're looking to change. And that's going to give you a good idea of like how it kind of spreads out and things like that. Then you take Control A, super duper easy. Oh, tab first, and Control A, delete that, and then you can type in whatever you want to make. I'm going to make my Custodes commander. Boom. So there is that. So now it's in there. We're going to hit tab again to lock it in, and it should be good to go. Just thinking about it for a second. There, it is good to go. And then you can start kind of thinking about like, oh, you know, what other cool stuff can you do? There's all sorts of layers and things over here on this side, and they all kind of like line up. Like if you're looking at a different design that might be right over here, like something like this, like these are the little thingies on the side. Like you've got like bolts, and then you've got joysticks. And you can really kind of lock in and look at a whole bunch of different things over here. Whatever you want that's already in here. There's something called runes where you can basically bring in font to put on the side here, and that seems weird at first, but then remember there's a ton of different styles of fonts that you can bring in, and sometimes the font is a logo itself, so you can have some fun with that too. Another thing down here is where all of that functionality is. Like if you need to actually import a font into this program, you can do that under the text tab, I guess we'll call it right here. I don't exactly know what it's called. But besides that, if you want to preview all the different styles of nameplate on the front, those are mostly those are all up here. So you're going to see where, like, you know, some of your text might not fit in exactly into the particular template that you're looking for, like something like this that I think would be pretty neat. This is actually going to have two different rows of text, so you're just going to have to go down and select the other row of text and do the exact same thing, and then you're good to go. But one of the other things that you may notice is that you might have to kind of adjust the sizing. This I already adjusted, but adjusting the sizing is super easy. You can, again, just come down to this text area here, and there's going to be a size. So I already increased it from 1 to 1.25, and I'll show you on the printout why that's important. But I'm just going to hit 1 to pop it back to what it was, just so you can kind of see. It gives it a second to think. So there it is at the original size. Now you can kind of tell that it doesn't quite. It's a little too small. Remember, this is a 40 millimeter base, which means this lip is literally millimeters tall. So you're gonna want your text as big as you can. So you want to fill it out as much as you can. So a lot of the cases you're gonna want to come down here and just adjust that real quick. You can also adjust it into the scale up here, but I just find it's easier just to do it in the text right there. And then boom, you've got everything in here that you want. And once you get everything locked in, you can actually export this as its own STL into your slicer to do your normal supports. And like I said, there is going to be a ton of resources here. I've already looked at how to paint the nameplate guide in non-metal metallic. I didn't do any of that. I did something a lot simpler. I might do a separate tutorial on that. It was super fun, and it took 5-10 minutes to paint this template. I spent longer waiting for the wash to dry than I did to actually paint it. It was kind of like cheating. How to use the content, how to support the nameplates with your favorite slicer. I think they use Prusa or Cheeto Box. They use Cheeto Box. And everything's pretty much in here. Anything you need, you're going to get with the Kickstarter. A lot of it's already been made, so you don't have to worry about any of that. I wanted to show you the difference. This is the actual printout. Now, this is how a lot of our stuff prints. It's going to be kind of a smoke and translucent, but you can see that see this gap, because this was the 1.0 font that I used, and it doesn't quite fill. It's very hard to read. Of course it's hard to read because it's translucent. But once I primed it with little gray primer, boom, this is what it looks like. And you can tell with the larger style text, the 1.25, it fills up more of the space, and it's a lot easier to read. Once you get this, then you're just basically good to go at this point. You can start painting and clip it out, and just get it on your miniatures. Here's what the finished product will look like once you get it all done and plated and actually onto your miniature here. Now, attaching these to your miniature, you can actually paint them separate. That's what I did. I've had this guy painted up for a few years, but all I did was put a thin strip of glue on the back of this, and I literally put it down on my cutting mat and then slowly slid them across to each other because they're both, you know, flat, and boom, just glued together in like 2 seconds, and it was all nice and flush and everything like that. And I think it's good to go. So this is very easy to achieve, a super quick effect. Just primed it bronze, and then we just did a light dry brush of I think a lighter gold over it. I forget exactly which one. It was one of the army painter. I think it was greedy gold. Yeah, it was greedy gold. Light dry brush of greedy gold, then a dry brush of greedy gold and a little bit of silver. Very, very light, and then we hit it with a wash of flesh, or you could use like a darker wash, something, whatever you wanted to do. I mixed a little purple with it to give it that pop. And once that was done, I just took and kind of overbrushed a little bit of silver at those 2 spots right there to kind of simulate light hitting it, which when the light does hit it, it kind of, you know, intensifies the effect, which I think really worked out great. I mean, between designing this, printing it out, the thing that took the longest was probably waiting for the wash to dry, I think, on this miniature. So if you have 10 or 20 of these things, it would not be hard at all to get them done up in very, very little time for yourself or, you know, for someone else. So whether you're a novice or perhaps a 3D printing pro, I think considering this Kickstarter is a great idea, because for 27 euros for the early bird, or 29 euros for just the plain old Buster starter pledge, because you weren't there like at the first second, which by the way, you should probably go over and subscribe so you know when it goes live. I'll have a link in the video description and comments below for everybody right there. I think it's a great deal because these nameplates go for anywhere between, you know, $3 and $5 each, and you figure you're going to print 10 of them, so you're already ahead of the game of what you would spend at just customizing at least a squad of dudes, you know, from the get-go. And then, you know, maybe selling them, reselling them, doing one of the reseller things is for you too. Maybe doing the larger one is for you as well, because maybe that's just something you do. It would probably take a little bit of infrastructure to set up on a website and kind of implement, but you know, there are definitely some opportunities. Like I said, whether you're a novice or a 3D printing pro, I feel like it's definitely worth checking this out because it kind of fills a really neat niche, and it allows people to become more immersed and create more narrative play with their existing miniatures. And probably best of all, it's just an add-on, which is really, really cool. And we love cracking out over buying just accessories to go with our miniature. So that is it for this one. Make sure you check out the Wargname Kickstarter that's going to be starting October 2nd or 3rd, very, very soon, if not already up right now when this video comes out. And I definitely, you know, think you should give it some consideration for sure, either way. And of course, we will be reselling the nameplates as well. If you don't want to do any of this work, we can do it for you too. So be looking for that in the near future once the Kickstarter is fulfilled and over. We have all the files in our hot little hands. So thank you very much for watching this video, and make sure to check it out.